It's time to talk about the district attorney race here in Shasta County, and with me seeking re-election is our current district attorney, Stephanie Bridgett. Stephanie, welcome and thank you for joining me.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So this first question's a bit of a warm-up, and it's what does the business community need to know about you, your background, and your qualifications for this position?
Well, I came to Shasta County in 2002. I came as a brand new prosecutor, and I've been here ever since. So I'm in my 20th year here in Shasta County. And to me, I have chose Shasta County to be my home. I grew up in a military family in the Air Force. My father was in the Air Force, so I've lived all over the United States. I went to Cal State Hayward in the Bay Area, focused on business. I got a degree in business administration with a minor in marketing. Then I went to law school, and after law school, I worked briefly in the Bay Area. Didn't really care for what I was doing down there, and I'm more of a nature outdoor person. So I got the position in the DA's office up here and came up here and immediately knew that this is where I wanted to live and made it my hometown. Met my husband here, we have 4 kids, and this is our forever home. So not only is Shasta County as a whole important to me, but the businesses and just that we have a thriving community because my family's here. This is where I raised my family, my friends, my coworkers, and just really everybody. And since I've dedicated my career to public service, it's important to me the safety of our community for my family and for everybody. I have worked my way up in the DA's office from being just a brand new attorney to on misdemeanor crimes, from DUIs, petty thefts, stuff like that. I spent 3 years doing all the child sexual assault cases in the community that just really brought it home to me that this was no longer a job, that it was my calling, it was my passion, and that it's a career. It's what I was meant to do. Then I did a slew of different types of felony crimes after that, and ultimately working to do homicide cases. Did that for a few years, and then I was asked by the prior district attorney to be his chief deputy, kind of with the idea that he would be retiring at some point, and maybe it would be something I would be interested in. And having worked under 3 different elected district attorneys by that point, I really know how that position can shape and form the office and their priorities and just the what they focus on, what their resources are. And since I had spent so much time doing criminal jury trials, putting people in prison, advocating for children, I knew that, okay, I'm ready for this role and I'm ready to do it and make sure that we continue to be tough on crime. I've been tough on crime since I first came here. I feel that there's a lot of people that just won't live within society's rules, and they need to not be bothering our businesses, not doing anything like that. So not only do I feel like that has been something I focused on, but will continue to be something I focused on. But also being victim-centric. Like, not a lot of offices at times are, they can be tough on crime, but they don't always remember the victims. But having done so many victim crimes, that is something I've made sure that I've stayed very focused on as well. So having the experience in the office is huge. This is even though it's an elected position, so technically I'm a politician, I'm not a politician. I don't really want to be a politician because it's a career to me. It's my passion. And that is how every prosecutor in my office feels. It's their calling, it's their passion. And you can't come in from the outside and run and lead that office if you haven't been in the trenches and done the job and know how to work with them. And that's why 100% of the prosecutors in my office are supporting me for my reelection because of my leadership and being on that team with them and having done the work and leading them for the last 5 years. So you can't, there's no substitute for experience when it is having this particular position. And it would be the same with like a sheriff position. You can't have someone who's never been a police officer. You can't have someone who's never worked in a school become superintendent of schools. I mean, there's just certain positions that are different even though they're elected, the experience is a huge piece. And that sets me apart like no other detail, is the experience and the leadership skills and just the support of my team going forward to continue to fight for the safety for our community.
Thank you for that. The second question I have for you is related to some of the things that have been plaguing the community, but certainly the business community. Very highly publicized over the last few years, probably since we talk about AB 109 and Props 47 and 57, which you may want to explain. We see the criminal justice system as a supply chain, and similar to business, when there's a bottleneck at any point in that supply chain, it tends to mess it all up in some way. So from the DA's office perspective and the revolving door at the jail perspective, what's your take on that? And then how do you plan to assist the county in overcoming any real or perceived bottlenecks?
Definitely. What we have seen over the past 10 plus years is a significant amount of change in the law that are causing these bottlenecks. Starting with AB 109 through Prop 47 and 57. And for kind of a brief explanation for people,
that'd be great.
When AB 109 passed, it took well over 500 different types of crimes and made it so it doesn't matter if they are facing 10 years in prison, they can no longer go to prison. And this is felony crimes. They have to go in our local jail. Now, our local jail was never built for nor intended to house someone for 10 years. So that took a bunch of people out of state prison and made them a local problem. So that we start seeing more people on the streets from that. More hurdles. There's less room in the jail, which means less people show up for their court appearances because, well, you can't keep me in jail anyway. Mm-hmm. So the problem really started there. Then we have Prop 47 that changed mostly. A lot of people have kind of summarized it down to legalizing open drug use and theft in our communities, because it really did. It took drug and theft crimes, a lot of them, from being felonies and made them misdemeanors. So you don't have the ability to, prior to Prop 47, if it was a felony drug offense, let's say, we could actually easier keep them in custody. Of course, AB 109 still impacted that, so they all had kind of a compacting impact. But prior to Prop 47, someone who had a lot of drug offenses, we could keep them in custody and we could compel them to do drug rehabilitation programs, get into inpatient programs. We did that all the time, and after they completed that, our reward frequently was to lower their felony to a misdemeanor. We simply don't have that anymore after Prop 47. There's zero incentive for people who are committing drug-related crimes to even show up in court, and no ability to get them the treatment that they need. Same with Prop 47, because same with the other part of Prop 47, which took theft crimes. So under that $950 now, where it used to be $400 and under would be a misdemeanor. Now it's under $950 is a misdemeanor. And Prop 47 took away the repeat theft ability to make it a felony. So we have these people that just are victimizing our businesses again and again and again, and it's horrible. It's been devastating. I've worked with the California with the California District Attorneys Association to originally oppose these proposition and legislative changes, as well as working on and lobbying for legislation that would repeal or reverse them as well. And then Prop 57 brought in a whole slew of more problems. I feel like the biggest thing for people to know about is that it basically wrote a blank check to the California Department of Corrections to decide whatever types of credits they want to give to an offender. And that's what me, along with approximately 30 other elected district attorneys, have been filing lawsuits against the California Department of Corrections, because they keep lowering credits of violent offenders again and again. What credits do, if you get a 10-year sentence and you only have 15% credits, you're going to do eight years, right around 8.5 years. Well, They can say, no, we're going to change that to 50% credits, so they get out after 5. There's a lot of other things they did, but that is one that they're really, Prop 57 did, is they're taking advantage of it. So we're seeing these people, this influx back into our community. My office, we're actively opposing those at all times. We get notified, we're writing letters, doing everything we can, and very successfully opposing a lot of them, but not all of them, because it's ultimately up to the California Department of Corrections on whether to let them out under their rules. So it's kind of biased against the process. But you know, we can't take a defeatist attitude and just say, oh well, they keep doing this, there's nothing we can do.
Sure.
So one of the things that I've done is in 2018 started the Chronic Offender Accountability Program, which focuses on those repeat offenders. People who traditionally can't go to state prison because after AB 109 they have to go to our local jail. Some of them still can. Or misdemeanor offenders. These are people who get 40, 50 plus calls for service. So they're taking up our resources of our police officers. They're taking up our medical resources because they're continuing to commit crimes, be it theft crimes or drug crimes or any types of those. And I said, I know we don't have room in the jail, but was able to negotiate with the sheriff in this joint program to have 9 beds put aside that we can say 3 for Reading Police, 3 for Anderson Police, and 3 for the sheriff's office. And they get to identify who that big repeat offender is that's draining their resources. Gets put on our list, they do what they need to make the arrest, get us everything. I've got an assigned prosecutor who's handling it from day one all the way through to make sure we are really focusing hard to get, and a lot of them are to try to get maximum sentences to get them off of the street so they're not impacting our business communities, businesses. Now, obviously, 9 beds is not a lot, and we will expand this when we're able to get a bigger jail. But it's done great. Since 2018, we've had 50 offenders go through it, and over 175 years of jail and prison have been given to those offenders, cumulative. So it's had an impact. It's having an impact. It is a program we all want to expand, and would definitely do it. But it's finding those types of creative programs to still fight back. And I know business owners can feel like nothing's happening, my cases aren't being prosecuted. We are filing them, we are prosecuting them, we are seeking warrants for their arrest. We've got to get that other piece, because you talked about bottleneck.
Correct.
And that is very important. You know, if we have to have that bigger custodial facility, the jail, and we have to have the right amount of prosecutors and the right amount of police officers so that the system doesn't get bottlenecked and that we can overcome a lot of the change in the legislation.
It might be a question that's better for those running for sheriff to answer, but since you're so involved in the criminal justice system, and we touched on the larger jail, whether you want to go for the Wagon Wheel of Justice proposal from the sheriff or take a different approach, what's your thought on the plans that have been talked about as far as creating more space in the jail?
Well, I think the approach that is being looked at, that Wagon Wheel area, I think it's a good idea. We know that well over 90% of the people that go to jail or prison are going to come out at some point. They're going to come out on the other side, unless they're in there for death penalty or life without parole or some type of a 500-year sentence, which we get big stuff like that on, like child molesters and rapists and stuff.
Sure.
So there's a category that's never coming out. Well, it's hard to say never now with all the changes in the law, but conceivably should never get out. But the rest are going to get out at some point. So unless we focus on, once they're in custody, doing something about their drug addiction and their mental health problems, we're just delaying them coming back out into our streets with the same problems and continuing to be a problem on our community. In no way do I think this means we are decreasing our tough on crime stance, because even though they're in our new jail in the mental health program or in the drug and rehabilitation program, we're still prosecuting them because there are still victims in our community and they have still committed crimes.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really making sure that when they do come out, they can be a productive part of society.
Thank you for that answer. I really just want to, at this point, give those that are watching this, give them another connection to you, and you're making the case to them, the business community, as to why you're the right candidate for this position. So it's kind of, you could call it, I don't know, what do you call it in the legal sense? If we're in the courtroom, are you making your closing argument right now? So make the case, if you would.
Yeah, so experience is one of the biggest things. You have to have the experience. I have 20 years of experience, so I can sit here and talk to you about AB 109, Prop 47, Prop 57, and not them in theory, but them in practical day-to-day, how it's impacting the office. I can use that to make policy decisions. I can use that to make case decisions. I frequently am involved in helping attorneys with their trials, giving them feedback, watching their opening statements, just everything that you need the leader of a company to do. My office is the biggest law firm in Shasta County. Mm-hmm. We have 26 attorneys in that office. That includes me and my chief deputy. So it's very significant. It's important to have someone who has that experience and has the people in their office that want them to be there. I think one of the biggest things I'm proud of, I've got a lot of people who endorse me and different groups that are giving me their endorsement, mm-hmm. but to have the 100% of the actual prosecutors in the office who have supported me for re-election because they know I've done the job, because I've sat with hundreds of victims and gone into court and been their voice and advocated for them, because I've actually done criminal jury trials. There's no, you can't have someone come in from the outside who needs all of this on-the-job training mm-hmm. that I already have. I have the relationships with all the partners, with law enforcement partners, with community partners. I can reach out at any point to the resources that are needed for our office and for the community. And you just can't have that coming in from the outside. It's important. I have done so much work to bring creative and programs such as the Chronic Offender Accountability Program, started outreach in the office, doing the annual Senior and Veterans Fraud Fair, doing a yearly bowl-a-thon to raise money to send kids who are victims of domestic violence to Camp Hope. We go into schools and teach about anti-bullying and cyber safety and all of these things, because these were things that I wanted to do. This is not things the office was doing before I came in. Mm-hmm. Started the Family Violence Unit to make sure that we have 4 dedicated prosecutors doing all the child sexual assault, rape, elder abuse, domestic violence, and stalking, so that the cases are handled from the beginning to the end with someone who has the skills and the care to do those cases. Founding board member for the Children's Legacy Center. Worked very hard over the last 6 years to make that a reality, so that our kids don't have to go to 6, 7, 8 different locations when they've been a victim of crime or they've witnessed a crime, to get mental health here and medical check there and DA here and law enforcement there, telling their story again, basically mm-hmm. re-victimizing them. Mm-hmm. So I've worked so hard to bring that here, and that's a reality. And just there's so many other programs that I've worked on, and I can do that because I have a background, I have the experience, and I know what we need to continue to move into the future with creative programs, because it's not always about just getting our cases and prosecuting them in court. We have to go into schools and educate them. We have to use crime prevention through education and a lot of other things. So I am the most qualified, the experienced, have innovative ideas, and I'm going to continue that for the next 4 years, and I am asking everyone to vote for me for district attorney.
Well, thank you, Stephanie Bridgett, for being with us today, and to everyone watching along, we hope that you've learned a little bit more about Miss Bridgett and her experience, and through the business lens, reasons for consideration of her candidacy. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.